Hey all, welcome to PSC 101, Introduction to American and Nevada Politics. In this brief video, I want to give you some guidance, some pro tips, as it were, for how to navigate this course on Canvas. And since it's an online course exclusively, that's particularly important, right? Hopefully you've all had some experience with this before. If not, I think you can figure it out pretty quickly. I think Canvas is pretty user-friendly. I can remember a while back, because I teach a little bit at UNLV each year, and for the longest time they used a different software platform, Web Campus, and boy, it was a pain in the neck. And then they switched to Canvas, rightly so. All right, so this is it's a very well-vetted and trusted user-friendly platform for online courses like this one. That being said, there are some ways to sort of make your experience a little bit better, and that's what I'm here for. And along the way, by the way, always feel free to reach out to me. I try to be as responsive as I can to emails. And if, for some reason you email me and I don't get back pretty quickly, email me again. Right? Sometimes I'll be like, oh, there's an email. I'll get back to that later, and then I don't, and then it gets buried. Right? So I don't have a problem with you reaching out twice or thrice to get my attention. Don't be shy. All right, so you do have my contact information. I'm going to make myself as available as I possibly can throughout this 8-week summer session. It is 8 weeks, by the way. We move pretty quickly. It kind of sucks, but you know, we can do this. So I think we need to cover 15 topics in 8 weeks. So that means you know, roughly 2 topics every week. And sometimes the beginning is a little slow, but we don't have too much time for that. But we'll see. But it's going to be about 2 every week, which is insane. 2 chapters a week. It's crazy, but we can do it. And I think I've hinted at this in previous stuff that I posted for you guys, but I'm essentially reworking this course from the ground up in order to simplify it and make it more user-friendly. All right. So help me with that project if you would. Reach out to me with helpful hints for what I could do to improve that transition. All right. Over the years, quite honestly, this course for me had become a little bit bloated and content heavy, and it kind of got out of control. And I finally came to that realization at the end of last semester where I thought, oh my Lord, there's way too much stuff here for an intro course for a gen ed audience. So this is going to be a super stripped down, minimalist course offering where I still offer you a high quality analysis of American and Nevada politics. And what could be more important in the year 2023 than getting a good, solid, grounded education in American and Nevada politics? You know, I cover this in some of the material posted in Module 1, Chapter 1, but yeah, we are experiencing what some scholars are calling a democratic recession. It is a global democratic recession. Authoritarian forms of governance are on the rise in the most obvious countries like China and Russia, but even in countries like the U.S., France, and Great Britain. You know, kind of a rising tide of elements of at least a soft authoritarianism. So now more than ever, it's important to be grounded in what kind of governing system do we have, why do we have it, and why is it better than authoritarianism and even soft authoritarianism? So now more than ever, this is critical stuff. Good Lord. I never thought I'd live through times like this. Yeah, but here we are. But I think we're up to the challenge. All right, so first things first. Check out the syllabus. Check out my video on the syllabus. That goes a long way towards answering any questions that you might have. A syllabus is like a contract between a faculty member and their students. All right? I'm bound by its terms. You're bound by its terms. We know what the terms are going into this thing. If there are disputes, God forbid, right, we can settle them typically by going to the syllabus and seeing what that says. So I try to follow those rules, you know, closely. Because, you know, I try to be professional and a responsible faculty member. All right. Second thing, I do emphasize to students the importance of accessing this course on Canvas 2 or 3 times a week to keep up with what's happening and so you don't miss things. All right, so I think regularly checking in is important. I know you're not scheduled to show up in the flesh, in person at all, right, but you still should be showing up virtually on Canvas for this course show 2 or 3 times a week. You really should. Okay? That's the best practice right there. Also, the home page for this course is set as the modules page, and that's where the action is. Okay, it's not on the course calendar per se, although there is action there, deadlines for assignments. And I'll get those assignments inputted with their dates before we get things rolling next week. This is the Friday before we start. So that course calendar will be filled out for you starting on Monday. But I'm telling you, man, the core action is on the modules/home page. That's where the action is. That's where it's all happening. All right. So when I have the exams, the 4 exams that we're taking, those will be on the home page, modules page, and they'll be in their own dedicated module called Exam 1, Exam 2, Exam 3, Exam 4. And in that module will not only be the exam, but it'll also be the study guides and pro tips for how to do well. All right? Because some students, they just look at the calendar, course calendar, and they don't see the study guides. And I'm like, you want that? You want context for this material. It's only going to be on the home modules page. Course calendar is super stripped down. Takes everything out of context. So that's where you're going to find the exams. And you could also find the exams under the quizzes tab. But that's awkward. Because again, that'll take it out of context. To put it in context, you got to go to the home page and look at that module on Exam 1. There you'll see the exam where you can click it and access it when it's open. But you also see the study guides and the pro tips. Same for the current events quizzes. That's really important because if you're only accessing the quizzes through the quiz tab, you'll only see the quiz. All right, you won't see the 3 current events articles that it's based on. It'll be out of context. Okay, the context is going to be on the home page. You see a trend here? On the home page in the module called, in this case, Current Events Quiz Number 1. Right? You'll see the quiz in that module, a dedicated module. And alongside, right there with it, you'll see the 3 current events articles. Boom, boom, boom. All right? Can't emphasize that enough, as you can tell. I get a little hyped. Because every semester I get some students who are like, I see the current events quiz, but I don't see the articles. And I'm like, you don't see the articles because you're not looking at the home page. You're looking at either the quizzes tab or you're looking at the course calendar. And so you're ripping that quiz out of context. Don't do that. I'm begging you. All right. I mean, I'm kind of kidding, not kidding. Like, this is actually, it would enhance your experience a lot. And it would avoid a lot of confusion. All right, so there's that. When I have the short writing assignments, they'll show up under the assignments tab and the course calendar. That's true. But you know what you're going to need to really go to? The home page, where there'll be a dedicated module for writing assignment number 1. And writing assignment number 2 that gives you the spec sheet in addition to the Dropbox. Okay? If you're only accessing it through either the assignments tab or the course calendar, you won't see the spec sheet and you'll be confused. All right? Also, I do only mount the modules for content, right? Like Chapter 1, Module 1, Module 2, Chapter 2, Module 3, Chapter 3. I only post those as we get to them. All right? I don't post them all ahead of time. I don't just splat them all out. I mount them, one at a time. So in week 1, I will mount the first 2 modules. Module 1 is already posted. I'll be getting out Module 2 by next week. So for the first week, right, we're going to try to cover those first 2 modules. So those are the 2 that I'll post. Week number 2, I will post modules 3 and 4 or something like that, depending on circumstances and how quickly we're moving. So I know some instructors put it all out there to begin with. I don't, all right, because it'll be overwhelming. In so many ways counterproductive to what I'm trying to accomplish here as someone involved in higher education. Okay. What else? Discussion threads. You know where you'll find those? You could go to the discussions tab. That would work. That's fine. Actually, that's fine. It'll also be on the course calendar. That would also be fine. But it'll also be on the home page under discussion threads. I'll post each one there in its own dedicated module. There'll be one module for all the threads. And I'll post those one at a time in serial fashion throughout the summer. Short writing assignments, the discussion threads, the current events quizzes, the multiple choice exams. Yeah, all right. I'm also going to be posting announcements throughout the summer. Those are pretty important. Okay, you can find those on the announcements tab, totally cool. But I also have the Canvas shelf set to post at the top of the homepage the most 3 recent announcements that I've made. So you also find them there. All right. What else? There's also there's a big blue button tab on Canvas. That's if you want to have a virtual meeting with me. And let's see. According to the syllabus, we do that Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays between 9 and 11 in the morning. Just give me the heads up ahead of time. There's a big blue button tab there that you could use to access that meeting. And I'll set it up. You just have to click on that tab and access the meeting. Yeah, for the first time, because I've always been a little bit old school on how one calculates grades, I use a weighted system, right? So the exams are weighted 60%, the quizzes are weighted 15%, the discussion threads 10%, the short writing assignments 15%, and I would assign all the things about the same number of points, right? Because the number of points is immaterial if you're using a weighted system of how much each assignment is worth. The number of points, and I don't want to get too deep into statistics and numbers, but the number of points you would choose in that system for any assignment it can be completely arbitrary. You could have, the 3 short writing assignments could be each worth 1 trillion points, but they would still only be worth 15% of your grade in total. Right? I could assign the exams like 150 points total, but they would still count for 60% of your grade, right? So there's no necessary link between the weighted approach and the points assigned for each assignment. And I know that in the past that's driven students a little crazy, right? Because a lot of people don't have a good feel for numbers. They're not comfortable with statistics. I get it. Right? So they'd be like, oh my gosh, I missed this discussion thread and it was worth 100 points. And I'm like, I did assign it 100 points, but one discussion thread out of the 10 or so that you have to do, that's about 1% of your grade. Doesn't matter how many points I assigned it. What matters is the weight that I assigned it. But it makes students crazy, right? Because they tend to think, and people tend to think in terms of straight numbers rather than weights and percentages and fractions. I almost went into civil engineering, but I didn't. So I'm very comfortable with statistics and numbers and math and all that, but I know a lot of people aren't. So in respect for that massive fact, I'm going to match up the weightings with the number of points for each assignment, so that the number of points for each assignment will reflect its weight. I'll match those things up. Again, under a weighted system, the points can be completely arbitrary, which is what I've always done in the past. Because I knew that it didn't matter. But it mattered to a lot of students. So I have to acknowledge that and say, okay, all right, Good enough. Fair enough. I'll match up the points with the weights so that the numbers are intuitively appealing and satisfying for you guys. All right. So, the exams, right, will be worth a lot more points than, let's say, the discussion threads. And you'll see that in the number of points I'm assigning to each of those things. All righty. Golly. Well, what else to say here? I do want to emphasize two things in particular that I've already noted, just for emphasis. Check in several times a week. And go to the home page when you check in. All right, because that gives you the broad view of what's happening. Okay, when you only go to a single tab or course calendar, you're getting sort of a narrow view, like a pinhole view. Right, I want you to have more of a 360 view, which is going to be on the home/modules page. Again, the home page is the modules page. They're one and the same. All right, so also it's important here that you keep up. Again, I am going to track. So, okay. So within each module, in terms of content, right? In terms of content, you already have up there, I think, Module 1. Although, that I think about it, I need to add one more video. Module 1, you're going to see the formatting like this within each content module, right? Because there's going to be the modules for, like, the exams, the modules for the short writing assignments, the modules for the discussion threads. All right. And then there's the content modules. Those are the modules that will be numbered Module 1, Chapter 1. Module 2, Chapter 2. Right? That's the content of the course, as opposed to assignments and quizzes and so forth. The content modules will be numbered 1 through 15 by the end of the summer. Right? We're covering 15 topics, 15 chapters roughly. 15 modules. They'll be formatted in a consistent way. At the top of each content module will be the overview video, where I cut a video like this that's probably about, 5 or 10 minutes, in which I give you a brief overview of the topic at hand. And that'll be typically in the form of an MP4 file that's downloadable. It'll be small, compressed, user-friendly. Below that, there's going to be essentially a PowerPoint, a set of narrated PowerPoint slides where I deliver the primary content of the course. There'll be a version that's a YouTube video, because I know students prefer that. But then below that, there'll also be the PowerPoint version, the original version. That's going to be, it's going to be a lot of data. A lot of students don't want to deal with that. You have to download it and then run it, blah, blah, blah. So there'll be 2 versions of each set of slides. So it's going to look like there's twice as much as there really is, right? Most students I know prefer the YouTube video. That'll also have closed captions. But there will also be the PowerPoint original version. The advantage of the PowerPoint version, although it does have, again, disadvantages because it's a large file and has to be downloaded, it gives you access to clickable links that you don't get on the video for obvious reasons. All right. So, if it was me, I would access the PowerPoint slides, the original version, because then I'd have clickability with the... Like, for example, I do something in Module 1 about our tradition of inegalitarianism here in America. And I put in a radio program from NPR, National Public Radio, about the history of discrimination against Mexican Americans in the American Southwest. And it's a really remarkable radio program about things like segregation, discrimination, and lynching. That's a clickable link within that set of slides, right? You can click that in the PowerPoint version. In the video version, you cannot click it. You'll see it, but you won't be able to click it, again, for obvious reasons. You're looking at a video. So you'll see that. In this case, I think I have 3 sets of slides to cover Chapter 1. one set that covers the first part of the chapter. The second set covers kind of the middle part, and then the third set covers the last part of that chapter. And that's going to be it. I'm trying to keep this minimalist. You should have seen what I did as recently as last semester. you would lose your mind. So I'm keeping it minimalist. And I'm sticking closely to the textbook. So that what I'm delivering will go hand in hand with the text. It's going to be a beautiful thing. And easier and more accessible for students. So that's going to be the look of each module. Generally speaking. Now look, there's going to be, like a module on civil rights. And within that module, I will probably post a YouTube video from our library on the Black Civil Rights Movement. Supplementary, but important, mind you. In our module on federalism, there's a wonderful video by Peter Sagal, Public Television, where he rides a Harley Davidson around America in search of the Constitution, in search of civil rights or the Bill of Rights or federalism. And so I'm going to post that video as well. So sometimes there'll be some additional material, but I'll try to keep that to a minimum. All right. Okay. I think that's enough. Probably too much. I tend to talk too much. It's a hazard of the profession, and I've been at this for a while. Okay. Well, thanks all. And again, welcome to the course. Welcome to this new, improved, stripped-down, user-friendly version of Introduction to American and Nevada Politics. Thanks all, and I look forward to a good, fun, and productive summer. Take care.